Mike, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not too much, brother. It's good to be with you.
I mean, I'm looking. It's good to be with you too. I see in your background the "Be You Always." Yeah, I like
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Tell me where that came from. Well, what is that?
There's a saying from Oscar Wilde. He wrote a book called Dorian Gray, and he said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." And that just lands with me. For
Mhm.
so long, when I first started my businesses, I thought I had to put myself out a certain way to be perceived a certain way, but it wasn't really me, and I felt icky at best.
Mhm.
But also, people kind of sniffed out a rat. And so then I started leaning to who I am more and more. And I found that it actually compels, it attracts more people. And it's the better way of service because you're simply you.
I think that's super interesting, right? Because just what you just said, like like the world smells fake.
It does, right? And we're
Yeah,
so attuned to it, we can sniff it out instantly. And,
yeah.
and I think social media's only made it worse. You hop
Hmm.
on, you see people that's not even the real them. It's like these fake faces now that you just click a button and it transforms how you look.
Dude,
Kills
dude.
me.
So I have some female fighters, right? And one day it was fight camp. It was fight week, and we were out there just hanging out, but it's kind of boring fight week sometimes. And they were talking about the filters that girls put on themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, I get it a little bit. They're like, no. And she brought up, I mean, this is totally off topic, but she brings up this picture of this girl's ass on Instagram. And she's like, looks at that. She's like, that's nice, right? I'm like, yeah, it's real fucking nice.
Yeah.
And then she goes to Google and finds a picture of the same chick's ass. And it's not even fucking close. It's not even close, And I'm like, that is not fair.
Listen, I can tie that back into to business. So
Yeah, for
what I
sure.
find is many people in their business put out their favorite picture of themselves, right? So is that one perfect shot? They Photoshop the hell out of it, and you see it over and over. But then you see this person in reality. So I'm an author, which means I do a lot of speaking. I've seen authors go on stage. I'm like, who's that old dude? Like, who's that guy? And
We're
like, oh, that's
catfishing
the
in real
guy.
life.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. And his website, he looks like 30 years younger. It was his favorite shot from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this, the consumer says, oh, that's a lie. It's like a dating app. Like you can say you're 6'7" and you're all jacked up. You show up and you're 5'4" and you're a Tubalard.
Right.
Like how's that person going to feel? They're like, oh, you lied to me. This is over. And so that's what consumers see. They're like, oh, your business, your brand, whatever they call it, your persona
Sure.
has lied to me. So you start off with mistrust. I think that's the worst thing.
And you got to just get good with you, right? You got to get good with you. And you talked about at the beginning, what was that process of getting good with you like for you,
Well, it's showing the humbling part. So just a quick story about my background.
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur out of college, built some businesses. I sold 2 companies. I became a multimillionaire in my early 30s. And I thought I was all that. My ego exploded. Just to give context, after selling my second company, it was acquired by a Fortune 500. I bought a Land Rover, a Beamer, a Dodge Viper, all within 4 hours. And I'm like, look at me. And I moved into
How
an
much money
expensive.
did you make on that?
We sold it for over 3 million.
Okay.
And my first business, it wasn't FU money. It was definitely F me money. It was a private equity deal. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I
Got
wasn't
it.
like this crazy multimillionaire, but I was in millionaire status, right?
Right.
And I thought this was my new life standard. Like, oh, I'll just keep selling businesses. So the next one's going to be 10 million and then 100 million. So I got to show my success. Dude, I was a dick. I was a fucking dick. Like I thought I was better than other people. And that's the first sign of it. Well, what happened was on my next business, I lost everything. I had no clue what I was doing. I started investing money in business ideas that were bad ideas. I didn't know what I was doing. And so those businesses went out of business. It took me 2 years. I wiped out everything. I lost the cars. I lost the house. Actually, you went to Maui. I had a house on Lanai, which is the island over. It's a private island now owned by Larry Ellison.
Yep.
So got a place out there. Sigourney Weaver, 2 houses down. She lives there. And I thought I was all that. I lost it all. And it was the most humbling experience of my life when my daughter, she was 9 years old at the time, when I told my family, we're going to lose our house. She ran to her bedroom, grabbed her piggy bank, and she gave it to me. She goes, Daddy, I'll support our family because you can't. And I actually get emotional still over it. I was so ashamed and embarrassed, but also I hope that day I became de-dictified, that I realized, like, what guy says they want to be de-dicked? And I just kind of woke up and said, oh my God, like it's about contribution, not collection. It's about how to be of service. And I'm going to put that story out there. I've shared that story. I was terrified to tell other people that how much I failed. And then, no surprise, but it was a surprise to me. People responded and said, oh my gosh, I failed too. Thanks for carrying that flag and saying that we can recover from that and we can move forward. I fought through depression. I talked about my experience with depression, how you move through that. And that was very cathartic for me, just putting it out there, knowing that it doesn't cause rejection, it causes acceptance from other people. And from that point forward, it was clear, just be me, warts and all.
Yeah. Yeah. That line in, or that scene in Good Will Hunting. Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
I haven't, no.
So there's a scene where Robin Williams is the therapist to Matt Damon. And, Matt Damon's this young kid who, super smart but gets in all kinds of trouble. And Robin Williams' wife died. We didn't see that, but it's the story, and what he's telling, they start talking about something. And Robin Williams goes, nah, man, like what I miss is that shit that only I knew. Like her farts used to be so bad in the middle of the night that it would wake the dog up. And then he was like, I would take the blame because it,
Yeah.
He's like, but no one else knew that about her other than me.
Yeah.
That imperfectness that we all have, that really is what makes us us, right? Like you have two eyes, I have two eyes, I have two ears, you have two ears. We walk, we have a job. Like these are all just similarities, and they don't distinguish you at all, even though we think they do.
Yeah.
But
have you heard of the pratfall effect by any chance?
No, what is it?
You may like this. So it's been studies done around celebrities, and they found that when a celebrity makes mistakes and has flaws, they become more likable. So it's at the end of the movie where there's like the blooper reel that we're like, oh my God, like Tom Cruise is actually okay. Like he's a human too. The humanizing aspects make us more attractive. This is true, for all of us.
Look, I'll even go as far as a little bit with that. Like, God, I think that was some of the appeal to Donald Trump for people, was you these other politicians are trying to show this perfection. Like I am the answer. And
That's
Trump
true.
was just like, I'm an asshole. Like, look, this is how I'm an asshole. And some people were like, oh God, yeah, he's an asshole. I'm an asshole. I can get down with that, dude. Right? Like
horrible. Yeah. Raw and real is appealing.
And
listen, Trump, regardless if you like him or not, he was a master communicator in simplifying a message. And I think that's super powerful, that within seconds, what he was about and what he did. And he was unabashedly himself. Those are the people that get the biggest appeal.
Yeah. Even if, for example, let's just say you and I don't like him, but the people that do fucking love him. So there's that, it works.
I get it. Yeah, I totally get it.
So now you are still an entrepreneur, right? Yep. And explain what it is you do.
Yeah. So, I have equity in 5 businesses. I now actually call myself a shareholder of small business as opposed to an entrepreneur. Okay. And there's a critical reason. An entrepreneur, I think wrongly, has been defined as hustle and grind. Like if you own a business, you got to work your ass off. And no. Entrepreneurship is about having a vision, but choreographing resources to get there. I was reading a study just a few weeks ago. 14% of the world population ever starts a business. 20% is only successful, meaning sustainable. It's a healthy business. That means 3% of the people do it right. 97% of the population is actually looking to work for a good, healthy business. So our job, an entrepreneur's job, isn't to do the job, it's to create jobs. So I'm like, I better stop saying I'm an entrepreneur, even though I love the word, because it means hustle and grind. It means working harder than anyone else. I've decided to call myself a shareholder of small business because that means I'm an investor. I give it strategic direction. I vote for where we're going. I share in the profits because it was my investment, my risk, but I don't run the businesses. So I have 5 businesses now, for a consulting business. I have a virtual reality, augmented reality company. in some other businesses that I am a shareholder of varying degrees. And in some cases, 100%, other times lesser.
Got it.
And that's what I do. But my job, my day to day is to codify, to extract what I learn in these businesses and all the ones I study of what makes them work well, and then put that in a book. So my job is I'm an author. I'm a full-time author who's
Okay.
also a shareholder in a small business.
Man, I really liked how you put this, because I think, everyone says they're an entrepreneur right now. And I agree with you. An entrepreneur, like if you open a small business, you're not an entrepreneur, you're a businessman or a businesswoman. That's it. Entrepreneurs have multiples, right? They
Multiples,
have multiples.
has vision, challenges the norm, whatever the accepted principles are. So I'll give you an example. One of my books is called Profit First. And I'm not trying to be pluggy here.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But what I discovered is we believe, and we've been told, that profit comes last. We call it the bottom line, or the year end. These are all terms and phrases say comes last. But what I also noticed is almost no businesses are profitable. Most businesses survive check by check. I'm like, hold on. If we get into our business to be wealthy or financially free, why aren't we successful? And I looked at that formula one day and said, oh my gosh, it's because it's the bottom line. When something comes last, it's human nature to delay it, to ignore it. Most of us say profit's going to happen one day, and it never does. So what I did in Profit First, I flipped it. I said, profit comes first. Every time we have a sale, we take a percentage profit, hide away. It's the pay yourself first principle applied to business. Then I converted that into a business itself. So I have over 600 accountants and bookkeepers who now flip the formula. They teach this new method. And to me, that's what's entrepreneurial. That there's an established approach. Profit comes last. You need your accountant to do that. We're trying to redefine, saying, no, profit comes first. We're going to ensure every transaction is profitable. And that's what an accountant really is supposed to do.
Explain that more to me, because, like, for example, let's say I start an online store.
Yeah.
Right. An online store. How do I make profit first? How do you profit? Right.
Yeah. Right. It already starts fighting beliefs.
Hold on, let's make it more difficult. Let's go a brick and mortar store. I have a bookstore. I opened a bookstore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How do I go profit first when there's all these bills to pay?
Right. And coincidentally, our team was just working with a bookstore in Alexandria, Virginia last week. So this is as a perfect example.
That was not set up, by the way, everybody. We had no clue that was happening.
I had no clue it was coming. Most of us have been told that takes money to make money. So we're going in with this preordained belief that I got to pump money in to get any money out. So the first thing is, even if you're in the starting phase, why does it cost any money to get books? Do you know this bookstore reached out to authors and said, we're on our launch month, we're going to put any books that you want on the front shelves. We're going to position that way, not based on orders, but by your contribution. So authors said, well, I want to get that exposure. And they gave books away. I contributed 15 bucks. I want my books there. So they were able to get an inventory for nothing. And the reason they did this is they said, well, how are alternative ways of growing my business? Inevitably, if you don't use money, you have to use something that's even more powerful, and it's your mind. You have to think innovatively. Now that they had this start going, then they said every time there's a transaction, they make $20 on average per book sale retail. They first take the profit out of it. So it's a predetermined percentage. They run it at 15%. So a $20 book sells, they take $3, they put it into an account called profit, and they hide that money away. It's like sticking it in some kind of safe. They can't even see it. Now they have $17 to work with. Now for replenishing inventory, they have what's called a 55% discount. They have to pay about 9 books to buy a book. So now $17 left. Profit's already been taken, so they're profitable. They take $9 and they put it into another account called inventory purchase. Now they start building up funds to purchase the next series of books. Now there's $8 left. That goes to payroll and other elements. So it all flushes out. But how most businesses operate, Elliot, is that 20 bucks comes in. They say, okay, payroll, buy inventory, they deplete it. I got enough money to pay for a little, I don't know, new addition, new computer or something. Okay, there's nothing left. Let me make the next sale. They never think about profit. What happens, they put more and more burden on the business and actually becomes less likely to ever be profitable. They try to grow their way out of it, which is the worst way. So I was saying that profit is not an event as an eventuality. Profit is a habit. You got to bake it into the business. And that's what this bookstore has done.
How did you find this? How did you?
desperation. You know, I was talking about that piggy bank moment.
Yeah.
My daughter put up there, and I look back and said, holy crap, I know nothing about profitability. So I grew 2 businesses. One I grew to, it was just shy of 2 million. The second one, we were on a run for 7 million. Then a company called Robert Half came in and acquired us Q1, my third year. It was explosive growth, but those businesses weren't profitable. I refinanced my house twice. I borrowed from family and friends to cover bills. I was in desperate survival mode. I looked back on my life and said, oh my gosh, I ran businesses that were sick and unhealthy. I was lucky to get out. And most business owners will never sell a business. That's just the fact. So that's when I started to study. I said, why aren't my businesses profitable? There was a study that came out from the SBA. SBA identified 83% of the 30 million small businesses in the US. It's a company that does $25 million in revenue or less. 83% will never be profitable. It's check to check survival. I'm like, what? We all go into business to make money and almost no one's making money. What's wrong with us? And as I was saying, what's wrong with us? I said, oh my God, there it is right in front of me. The formula. We are behavioral. What we do is when something comes last, wait. Like with me and exercise, it's not your case, but for me and exercise, I'm like, I don't need to exercise. I just don't want to do it. I'll do it at the end of the day. Therefore, I'd never do it.
Never do it.
8 years ago, I said, I'm going to start working out every day, but I have to intercept my behavior. So what I did, I monitored what I normally did. Wake up in the morning, take a leak, drink some coffee, start reading the news, and then skip the workout. I noticed every morning I wake up and go to the bathroom. So I started putting my sneakers on the toilet seat. So now I wake up, the only way to use the toilet is by grabbing my sneakers. I'm on the feet, momentum kicks in, I go down to the gym, start working out. Work out 5 times a week, 8 years consecutively. Never miss it because I set an intercept. What most business owners do, log in the bank account, see how much money I have, spend it. So I said, okay, that's the equivalent to walking into the bathroom and going to the toilet is going to the bank. This system can't be in the accounting system. This isn't a QuickBooks thing. Set this up at the bank. So log into your bank account, have an account right there that says profit, money flows in, carve it out, put it in there, and continue forward.
What do you tell somebody who they're not making it yet, right? Like you're only breaking even. Like you have this business and I'm breaking even, right?
Yeah.
I pay myself my, I don't know, $4,000, $5,000 a month, but I think right there is probably a big problem, right? Is business owners don't understand that difference, the difference between like what you pay yourself as a salary and then what
profit. They're radically different.
Profit is.
If you're generating any revenue, there's profit potential. Now, listen, if you're making $1 a year, you probably can't make profit. We will have to amplify sales to some degree. But a business like that, if it's making 500,000 a year, 200,000 a year, $1 million, there's profit in there. But we do have to differentiate. Profit is a reward to the shareholder for taking the risk of investing and starting a business. Thank you for supporting our economy. Thank you for giving jobs. And if you've no employees, thank you for paying your vendors. Those are equivalent to employees. You're providing for our economy. The pay, owner's compensation, is the pay for the work you do. If you couldn't work at your business and we had to replace you, what do you pay that person? 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand? That's what's called a normalized salary. You need that salary because you are that guy doing that job. You also get a profit on top of that, usually a quarterly distribution as a reward for starting the business in the first place. That's how they're different.
I have a consulting business as well with other martial arts schools. And this is one of the things everyone's so resistant to do this. I'm like, guys, look, I need you to pay yourself a salary. And they're like, well, taxes, tax differences. I'm like, look, fuck the taxes. Like, I don't think you're right, but whatever, fuck the taxes, right? Like it's a minuscule amount at the end of the day. It sets the mindset different because you need to replace yourself. Right? Like you don't want to be the general manager of the school. That's right. Like,
no, it's not,
no.
I did a quick survey. So as much as I like to exercise now, I also like to visit McDonald's. I can't deny it. When I travel, I stop by McDonald's. I started this routine. This is about 2 years ago. I would stop at a McDonald's and say, may I speak with the owner? At first, I was just curious on how they run so efficiently. Do you know in 50 visits, the owner's never been there?
No, crazy.
Never. I go to cashier. I'm like, may I talk to the owner? One place they said, oh, the owner was in 2 weeks ago to pick up the money. To pick up the money. Yeah. I was like, that's it. It isn't that these owners are lazy, sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais. And maybe they are. That's cool. That's what they decide. But most of them are doing the hardest thinking that's necessary. Where's the next location? How am I going to expand this? How do we run more efficiently? What do I kind of learn from the headquarters? They are working at the highest level. And the only way to do that is by not being in that glorified closet that they call an office at the McDonald's store.
Right.
That is for the rank and file. And I don't mean it negatively. Most people want just a job, and that's great. But if you're an owner, you have to elevate yourself to the higher level. You have to reward yourself and pay yourself the proper salary if you're doing the work, and ultimately extract you from the work and just benefit from the profitability of the business.
And sometimes owners pay themselves too high in like a salary instance, right?
Because dude, I wrote about it in all my book. Yeah. And what they do, their lifestyle adjusts. Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm really into behavioral concepts. So I talked about pratfall. There's one that's really interesting. It's called Parkinson's law. Nothing with Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
Parkinson's law is this interesting phenomenon in humanity that as a resource expands its availability, we consume more of it. If you're given more time to complete a project, it takes you longer. If you are given more money, you will find a way to spend more. So as we take more and more salary for ourselves, we cap out our lifestyle to match that salary. And God forbid, 1 month, we don't have that normal salary, everything collapses around us because we're maxing our lifestyle.
God forbid you want to do something different with your life.
You can't. You become trapped.
Yeah,
you become trapped by the money. Your income.
Yeah. So, man, I know you have to get out of here pretty soon. So I always like to ask 2 questions, kind of as we wrap the podcast. Why in the world would you sit down and talk to some guy that you've never met before that? Look, I don't think I'm going to help. Maybe you'll sell a book because of this podcast.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But like you're a busy dude. You have a lot going on. Why take the time out of your day to do a podcast that really doesn't matter?
Well, it does matter. So first of all, your team reached out and I was impressed. Who was it? I actually have it written down.
Rory and Ronnie.
Yeah, Lori reached out and I was like, oh, this is cool. Listen, I don't get an opportunity too often to speak kind of the real talk. It's usually just like, oh, tell us about your new book. Give me the 3 tips. I'll see you later. And I don't get to talk about the humanity behind it. And when I was reading about you, checking out what you've done, I was like, oh, this is something I don't typically get to participate in. So selfishly, it's a way for me to share kind of a raw side that people don't hear. So it was selfish of me, but I really like that approach.
Look, I think we have to realize that sometimes, right? Like the world has to stay in balance, I believe. And so do you. You have to realize that, the altruism and the narcissism of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Very altruistically. But when people say, oh, I just give, bro, that's like my number one thing of you're full of shit.
Yeah. Red flag.
Like you are full of shit.
I don't know about that.
Nobody just gives. There's got to be something in it for you.
I concur.
So, last question is, I believe everyone has like this power, like a superpower that they go out and give to the world. And then the world gives them back so much, something for that. Almost, maybe it's money, maybe it's not. I don't know what it is. What do you think your superpower is?
So I think it is the ability to simplify really complex stuff because I'm not that smart or capable. I can't understand complex stuff, but I get enamored by it. So someone tells me like how accounting works. And it just, first of all, weighs down on me, but then I'm like, well, how do I make this so simple? Like we shared. So I really believe my life's purpose, my way I can be of service is to simplify entrepreneurship. How it comes back, honestly, every book I've done, every piece of research I do, I deploy in my companies. And it becomes an accountability mechanism. I have to live by these principles. I've had 49, or is it now 50 consecutive quarters of profit distributions. It's massive, life-changing for me. Honestly, I don't know if I was stuck with it because it's not easy. I don't know if I was stuck with it if I didn't write about it. So everything I give holds me to that standard.
That's cool. It's interesting. I had this martial arts consulting business, but we had martial arts schools first. And I think the martial arts consulting business, the biggest schools that it's helped are my own. Because it's right? I train my employees just the way, like with the employees get trained off of these videos that we make for these other people. But it's like, this is how we do it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Instead of me training you, just here's the video, watch that. And then we'll come back to it. So it's really interesting how your own work really helps yourself a ton. So
I'm with you, Elliot.
Mike, tell everyone where they can reach out to you. They can find you. They can find your books, social media, all that stuff.
My name is Mike Michalowicz. No one can spell it. So I'll give you a cool shortcut. I mean, it's not cool. Mike Motorbike. It's a nickname I got in grade school. It's the only one that's not like X-rated. Other ones I can't share. But so I got the domain, mikemotorbike.com.
Okay.
Try to go there. You'll see all the work I do, all the research I do. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal for years. All that stuff is available for free at mikemotorbike.com.
MikeMotorbike.com. All right. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on. We'll do it again sometime, maybe.
That would be fun. Thanks, brother.
Guys, as always, Mike has his unique superpower, his thing that he goes out and he gives to the world. I have my own unique thing that I go out and I give and get back from the world as well. So don't go out in the world and try to be Mike, and don't go out in the world and try to be Elliot. Everybody, please go out there and find your own power.